For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. I've been doing this broadcasting thing for a long time, and I'm often asked about my celebrity interviews, because that's something I was doing that long before all you podcasters were, all before you YouTubers and TikTokers and whatever other platforms I've never used before. And so I'm going to just take a walk down memory lane, because some of the questions that I'm regularly asked are, how did you get invited to red carpet events? What was your foot in the door? And did you have any nightmare celebrity guests, or, anything that just went off the rails? And so I'm going to talk about that for the next 30 minutes, and it's coming up on The Scribble right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
JB here on The Scribble. The celebrity interview has really changed over time. Back when this is where I sound old now, right? Back in my day. But when I started out in radio, now again, we're going back 20 years, it was very difficult to get an interview with a celebrity. Now, here's the thing. There weren't as many outlets, right? Podcast, that was not a thing. YouTube, I don't know if YouTube was around, but it certainly wasn't as, not prevalent. What would be the word? Not everybody had a YouTube channel, right? Not everybody was a content creator back then. So not many people probably had a personal page, if any. Again, I don't know how long YouTube's been around. So anyway, but even when I was on the radio, we had an audience of, I think it was 300,000 in syndication. So, that was a fair number. But even for us, it was a struggle to get, A-list or big-time stars, because a publicist back then would want to know what market you were in. And naturally, they wanted to know what station you aired on in Los Angeles and New York, right? Those are the biggies if you're not. And they might consider you if, you have a couple of bigger, cities or outlets, but, So for us, it was easy to get people who were stars who were on television shows, because we had relationships with the TV networks. Record labels, yes and no. If we were covering an award show, or there was a new album drop or whatever, because radio back then was the bread and butter for how a lot of artists, that's where a lot of their money came from, right? The royalties or the licensing fees that radio stations would pay. So it was easy for us to get TV stars and music stars. Movies, I was never really big into movies, so for me, I didn't necessarily want quote-unquote movie stars on the show, because I hadn't seen, their pictures. I didn't, and I hated covering the Oscars. I hated it because, movies are just not my thing. It's not that I have a short attention span, but I like to laugh. So, movies over the years have evolved. Well, back when did all that, it was CGI and stuff, when all that kind of stuff came around, I sort of pulled away. I like your classic comedy, right? That's just the regular, none of the, special effects and weird storylines. I realize that people appreciate the escape, right? When you're going into, another world or another dimension or another whatever it is. I don't like that. I would much rather see, the classic movies. We just watched Dumb and Dumber at my house last weekend. And Mrs. Doubtfire too. We did And Austin Powers, I guess, would be an escape of one. Well, to come to think of it, but you see where I'm going, right? Like, it's not it was like the classic comedies. But now, yeah, when they are transported to another world and something like that, I guess Austin Powers kind of does that. But anyway, so for us to have celebrities on our show, it became a weekly thing. And there were times where we didn't have enough airtime. We had too many guests, too much talk time, and not enough airtime. So we would, have to kind of pick and choose. And that was sort of the good thing about having our own website where we would post interviews, because we might be able to get part of so-and-so's interview on the air, and then we direct you to our website to listen to the rest of it, just because, we didn't have enough time to air the whole 12 minutes. We could only air 5 minutes. So, go and check out the rest of it. And part of that was also just a business decision, because we could, cash in and make more money by having you go to another place to listen to it. But one of the things that I'm asked quite a bit by new podcasters, right? Because they will see that, I'm a has-been now, right? Radio is kind of like, but, like I said, it was tough. Like, you had to have a foot in the door back then to get celebrity guests. And so I'm asked by people who host podcasts now, or want to start podcasts, or just want to know how to approach, celebrities and getting them on the show. Well, it was totally different back then. As I said, we would go through publicists. We would go through a TV network. We would go through a record label. Now with social media, apparently what people do is you just DM the person. You might just send them a message on Instagram or whatever it is. We would never... we didn't have the, you just didn't do that. You would always, even if you did know the person, over the years of hosting the show, absolutely, I swapped, phone numbers and email addresses and, texting or whatever with celebrities. Even then, though, I would still feel awkward about just like, hey, Allison Janney, do you want to come on the show again? Hey, Jeff Probst, do you want to come on the show again? Hey, whoever, right? I'm trying to think of who else. Yeah, Matt Eisman, I guess, was another one. I'm trying to think of all the, contact information of people where, yeah, I would still go through the publicist. Even though Matt Eisman was on the show, I don't know how many times, I would still go through his representative. We would, I had his phone number, I had his, everything, but I could never do it. It just didn't seem right, and so then, when my show ended at after 15 years, our syndicated top 40 show, Top of the Charts, went off the air. I retired. I kind of don't really do anything now. That's not true. I do this show, but I do this show for shits and giggles. So I was always asked when I was hosting that show, oh my God, how did you get access to these events? Or how did you get such and such celebrity on the show? And then you also get the questions of, who was the most fun celebrity interview that you did? Or who was the worst celebrity interview? And I would always say to people, you have to realize that these people were coming on my show to promote something of theirs. So for them to come on and be a dick or a bitch or whatever, it would defeat the purpose. And again, we weren't going for viral moments back then. That wasn't, it wasn't an issue. If anything, I would be the one who would want the viral moment, right? Because that would put me on the map then. And I would be on TMZ for having the celebrity walk out of my interview, right? Like that. But you just didn't do that, because it would also just ruin your reputation. You would, that publicist, if they represent whoever, or, however many other people, they're not going to book, their talent with you. So, I never had anybody, we never had a controversial kind of there was nothing like that. So, who was like the rudest, or it never happened. We just didn't do that kind of content. And then, I guess some of these reality show people, and it was, again, maybe it was back in the day when, you had Richard Hatch. I'm trying to think of the original, the OG kind of reality show people, right? Justin Guarini, Richard Hatch, the people who, obviously, Kelly Clarkson went on to big things, so I'm not talking about her, but, other people. Any of, the Big Brother people from the first couple of seasons. And I guess also, too, the Bachelor and Bachelorette people. And I remember we were in, the height of our show. We were getting just, we had, like I said, we had that backlog of people. We didn't have enough airtime for everybody. We couldn't even... And... So Big Brother was really big. I don't remember who it was, but there was somebody from Big Brother. I guess they had, retained representation, so publicist or manager or whoever. And so we did not go through CBS. We were going through, I guess, directly to that PR firm. And so they came back asking what we would pay for the interview. We also had that with Scott Disick, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Scott, you remember him from the Kardashians, right? He was on the show with us. Now I'm actually trying to remember. So I think, was he... my team's not listening to me. I'm looking across the room going, hello, anybody paying attention? But they're not. We had Scott on, but I think at one point, maybe we wanted him to come back on again. And then same thing is that we were asked like what we pay, how much we were paying. Like, and it's like, no, we don't. That's not, no, never. This is, we're not the Daily Mail. We're not TMZ. We're not, we're not paying for a scoop. Like this is, if anything, we're promoting what he's doing, right? Or what this person is going. And so same thing with that Big Brother contestant who did not win the show, but for some reason, I guess, had a winner's attitude. And whoever was producing that segment, I can't remember who it was. I just said, like, I'll tell them to kick rocks. Like, that's not how this is working. Because where are you going to be, 5 years after this interview airs? Where are you going to be? In jail? You were arrested on tax evasion? Like, something's going to happen with you. Then we'll want to talk to you. But at this point, no. We never even considered it. We would never pay. Why? Oh, well, I'm going to pay you. I'm going to pay you to promote your stuff. Oh, that's the privilege for me. Is I'm going to pay you and promote your things. Okay. Yeah. No. Right? Like it was always a two-way street. You come on my show, that benefits me because it gives me another big name, and you have a platform to promote whatever it is that you're hawking, whether it's some kind of a product or whatever. Back in the day, by the way, once people got off The Bachelor, Bachelorette, typically again, was they would team up with some kind of a charity thing, and that was sort of their claim to fame. Now obviously it's these product endorsements or Dancing with the Stars or a podcast, right? Because that's just what you do after you on a reality show, is you start a podcast. But yeah, never would we pay. And then there were times when we got, all right, now they're listening to me and they're saying we got to go to a break. So I'm going to tell you about a Shark Tank star that was never invited on our show after, well, let's just call them diva demands. That's coming up on the Scribble right after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
JB here on the Scribble, reliving my celebrity interviewing days. And just before the break, I was about to set up a story that we had somebody from Shark Tank, which I'll name the person in a moment, but not uncommon when a publicist is booking a guest or their talent as a guest on your show. They will want to know the line of questioning, obviously, right? Because they're going to prepare that person. All right, you're going to be interviewing with Jeremy, you're going to talk about this, you're going to cover this, or whatever. And so I would say, not quite half. No, it wasn't half. It would be about almost every single time they would want to know, okay, what are you covering in the 8 minutes that you have, obviously. But in terms, like, what I'm getting at is they would want to know the prepared questions. They would want the list of questions. How often would that come up? That would come up. See, I'm struggling because I wasn't, at the very beginning of the show, I was the one booking guests. Later on, I wasn't. So that's where I'm sort of struggling to come up with a number. When I was doing it back in the day, it was probably, I don't think it was more than half. And then once you have, like, see, the great thing about our show was that all of our celebrity interviews were online. So a publicist could just go and click and listen and see that it's conversational and there's talking points. And really that's how it went. If your client takes us here, then that's what we talk about. If they take us there, that's what we talk about. So they know that they're coming on to promote their book, let's say, or you know, TV show or music album or whatever it was that they had. That's why they're coming on. So that's going to be either our starting point or our ending point. And then it's just kind of wherever the road takes us, that's where we go. And so, sorry, say that again, Bon. I just heard you as I was, it was no more than 50% asked for that? Okay. So sometimes they would ask for the list of questions. How much are you saying? Say it again. Less than 10% asked for a list of questions. Okay. Wow, that's actually, okay, I thought it would have been a little bit more. And so our producers would go back and say, there is no set of questions. It's 8 minutes. It's casual conversation. Or sorry, no, it's not casual. It's, And again, just like I explained it, if so-and-so says this or takes us here, that's where Jeremy's going to go with it. If they say such and such, and that triggers something in his mind to, what about this? Or, then they go there. And that's just how it is. And so more often than not, I think that it worked. Never did we ever, not to my knowledge anyway, maybe they did just to appease the publicist, but never did we ever come up with like a fake list of questions. Again, 15 years behind the microphone. I think once or twice they would have like key talking points that would flash up on the screen for me, because I would know that she's coming on to talk about this new album, but they also wanted like a TV appearance or something plugged as well. So, I would get that flashed up for me. But otherwise, I would go into it knowing, okay, well, she's got her album out. I've either listened to it or they've sent me a couple songs that I've listened to. So I've heard it. I know what we're going on. And then we just run with it. And that's where we go. So maybe they would send fake questions just to appease, because once you're on the line already, right? Like you can say, okay, this is what he's going to ask you. But once I've got you on the phone, as long as I'm not being controversial or putting you on the spot or being a dick to you, the publicist, who's generally, by the way, on the phone at the same time, they're just muted, but they're sitting there listening. They're not going to jump in and go, that's not on our list of questions. That's not prepared. Oh, you didn't send us that one. They're not going to do that because, again, it's a regular conversation. And if these people have been a celebrity long enough, they've either had media training or they've done enough of these, they can kind of just wing it and speak for themselves. So to the Shark Tank thing. Now, we had... Well, my fellow Canadians, Robert Herjavec and Kevin O'Leary on, I don't know how many times. They started out on Dragon's Den, which is a show in Canada. And then they moved to Shark Tank on ABC once that started. So they've been on with us a bunch of times. Kevin was on, he was even on the red carpet with me at, where was that? It was the American Music Awards. And Robert was on, I don't know how many times. Barbara Corcoran was on a few times. Mark Cuban. I remember I had direct email with Mark. I don't remember why he never came on the show, though. No, he never did. But one of the people that we wanted to have on was Lori Grenier, right? We invited everybody. At some point during the run of my show, all of the Sharks were invited on. Let me be very clear with that. Damon John, Mark Cuban, everybody was invited. And so Lori we had approached. Now, again, we went through ABC. They were always kind of the middle person. And then they would either reach out to the person's direct publicist and kind of be the middle person. And then would, get back to us and say yes or no. And then once we'd had such a good relationship with ABC, the publicist would just be like, here's Lori's rep, just contact directly. Like they weren't the gatekeeper anymore. It was kind of like, just here, arrange it because you have that trust, or they just didn't want to deal with us anymore. But we had direct contact with Lori's people. And so We reached out several times throughout the course of my show, and it was no. And then one time they came back, and I think it was Rob, our producer. I don't think it was Bonnie, but the rep had come back and said, send me the list of questions. And then they didn't want payment. They did not want payment. They wanted to hear the interview before it aired, and they also wanted a say in, I guess, how or what aired. And so that then came back around to me, and I said, absolutely not. We don't do that. That's not, that's because it makes me sit there and go, how do you think this is going to go? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think this is going to be like a gotcha interview, or do you guys want the raw audio and you can like polish it up and then just send us the final product and how we air it? No, that is not how it's going to go. And so, it was Rob, wasn't it? So Rob goes back to the publicist and is like, well, that's not how the interviews go. We'll have the talking points of, you're talking about the new season of Shark Tank, whether it's the premiere, right? Because there would be something that the interview would be timed to something, whether it was the finale or maybe it was like the biggest deal of the season. So we would kind of tape that. And so there would be a reason, right? Or it was the season premiere, or it was the, I don't know, it was just before the Emmys or something and they were nominated. Like there would be something. Or sweeps even would be when they would have their big episodes on. So the producer went back to Lori's people and said, no, that's not how it works. There's no set line of questioning, and we just don't do it. And they basically then said no, and we're like, okay, fine. We're not gonna cave. At one point, we did discuss, as I said, send them fake questions, whatever, because again, once we get her on the phone, then we've got her. Like, it's no big deal. But we were laughing about it, going, now I understand that maybe if I'm going to ask about this company that she invested in, and maybe they need to prepare her for those details, right? About, oh, well, she's made this much money from it or whatever. I get that, fine. But then we would also go and say, like, it's 8 minutes. We do not have, there's no time. This isn't one of those, remember, this is before the days of everybody having like a 2-hour-long podcast every day. Like we had 8 minutes. That's what we were working with on the radio. We did not, we weren't going to have 17 minutes about politics. That's not how the show ran. And so we said no to it, and or they said no the first time, and then I think we tried again like a year or two later, if I'm recalling correctly, and then same kind of a thing, like what are the questions, whatever. And then this was funny because I was watching Shark, and once I heard about it, I kind of sort of had this, not a chip on my shoulder, but I was kind of like what a fucking bitch, right? Jeez. So I would notice, and you'd have to watch some of the older episodes of the show because they don't do it anymore, which I'm thinking either Lori or somebody saw me do this. Robert, like the way they were set up on the panel before, Robert Herjavec would sit beside Lori Grenier a lot of the times, or whoever was sitting beside. And Robert would always make a point of saying, oh, I'll hand that to Lori. Oh, I'll get that for Lori. Oh, I'll pass that to Lori. And you would never see her actually stand up to receive, the pitch, the person who's coming on the mat. You would never see her stand up to take the item from them, or they would hand it to her. Robert always, and he would even say it too. And so I tweeted one time something about, look at, like, the diva can't even stand up, or like, she's got to have things handed to her or whatever. And almost right after that, she blocked me. And then following that, it was never on the show like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, producers are doing this for a reason. Because you don't, like, when the person is coming to hand out their product or whatever it is, you don't see every single shark be handed the product. And so you could just not show Lori getting it, right? Like, just because you didn't see Barbara get it handed to her, you didn't see Mark get it handed to him, you didn't see Damon get it handed to him, but for some reason, they always left it in. You would even sometimes even just hear Robert. You wouldn't even necessarily see him handing it to her. But you'd hear him say, oh, let me use it. And I'm thinking, that's producers trying to make her look like a fucking diva. That's what that is. There's no reason to keep that in. Which is also weird because I believe all of the sharks are now executive producers on the show. So, if she wanted that to be kept in, it's like, that really just fucking makes you look like trash, Lori. I'm sorry, it does. that you can't even stand, like, you can't even, like, somebody has to hand you the products. Fuck you. I don't care how much money you have. That's a fucking bitch move. And now, let me also just be clear. I'm not still bitter about the whole interview, like I said, because we ended up turning it down at some point. But I'm just sitting there going, like, if that's the kind of attitude that you have, like, ugh, I wouldn't want to do business with her. I wouldn't want to be her business partner. I don't care how, she always talks about how she's there day and night. Her entrepreneurs can call her any time of the day or night. Fuck off. You can't even fucking stand up to be handed a product. Like, seriously? No. But so if you go back to one of those seasons, I don't remember what it was. It was probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. Maybe even longer now. But yeah, without fail, almost like at least once every episode, you would hear, I'm pretty sure it was Robert every time. I'll get that for Lori. I'll hand that for Lori. Wow. And then, like I said, the timing was after I tweeted that and said, look at the diva, can't even stand up and just got to have stuff handed to her. I got blocked. She blocked me. And then it wasn't on the show after that, so maybe there was 1 or 2 more weeks, but yeah. I don't know. What do you think about that? I think that's producers just trying to make her look bad. I really think there's no other reason to show that, right? Oh, let me get the door for you. No. So send me an email. Tell me what you think about that. live@jbonair.com. live@jbonair.com. So that's an example of, we weren't asked, like I said, we were not asked for payment for the Lori Greiner interviews, but they wanted like total fucking control of the segment. And it was like hard pass on that. No, thank you. And it's weird too, because like I said, we had so many interviews, so many segments about or from Shark Tank. We even had some of the people on. Oh, there was that, they made me stuffed dogs. What was it called? I can't remember the name of it, you guys. Tell me the name of it. Can't think of the name. Shoot. But what they made like stuffed animals where you would send them like a picture of your dog and they made like stuffed animals of them. And so we had them on the show. The season that they were on, and then we checked in with them 5 years later, and they had improved their product. They made it, a lot better, and then they came on again. They came on the show again, and then they made new ones, of these stuffed animals, because the quality was so much better. And so yeah, we'd had people who were not contestants. Yeah, I guess you'd pitchers or whatever on the show, and then we had the actual stars, the sharks themselves. So it was very weird that it's like, here, send Lori's people, you can listen to these segments yourself, and then here, like send these to Lori then if you want her to listen to it and see what the style is. It's conversational. It's not like question answer. It's not a fucking job interview where it's like, tell me about your favorite time. What was the time when no. Your answer is going to probably dictate my next question or where we go from there, because we're having a conversation. We're not having a scripted back and forth. So sorry that I'm not going to, but the show isn't robotic. It's not like, and like I said, and you want control. You want to hear the interview. You want to say and how it airs. Fuck off. We're not handing that one to you, bitch. Anyway, we'll do a quick break and I'll be back to wrap things up on the Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
JB here, back on the Scribble. I have like a minute left, and you know what happened? Right after I was ending that segment, I couldn't think of the name of the company that sent me those pets, like the plush pets. right as soon as I ended, I was like, oh my God, it came to me. Budsies or Petsies. They've got a couple different brands. Budsies or Petsies. And they were on our show twice, once shortly after they appeared, and then I think we checked in like 5 years later, and they had made me these plush dolls of my dogs. And I'm looking at their website right now. I didn't realize how expensive their products were. So thank you very much. They're very good products. They've really improved in quality. And so isn't that the case, though? You're standing there talking to somebody and you just can't think of the name of something, right? And you're standing there and it's bothering you. And the second you part ways, right? You go one way, they go the next. Like a minute later, all of a sudden the name or whatever comes to you. And then you text them, right? Oh, I just remembered. Oh, I just thought of it. That's exactly what happened a few moments ago. Anyway. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I will talk to you same time, same place next week, everybody. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some